Welcome to Kensington. You guys doing good this morning? My name is Ryan. I'm the creative arts, actually the worship arts, director at Traverse City Campus. And it's wonderful to be with you guys, even though most of us are up there and I'm down here. It's kind of funny. But anyways, I'm just so excited to be able to worship with you guys today. We're going to lead you guys in a song called Glory to Glory. And that's kind of what today is all about. It's taking us from one place and the Lord just taking us to the next. And just encourage you guys to sing and be a part of what worship is and singing is this morning. So here we go.
Yeah. guys can have a seat. Hey, welcome this morning. Happy summer. Yeah, it's been good weather, huh? Hey, my name's Josh. I just want to welcome you here today at Kensington. And if you're brand new with us, if this is your first week, welcome. We hope this place is like home for you. We hope that you feel connected here. We hope that that this is a place that you can get some questions answered. We are just grateful that you're here. And on that note, we have something called Starting Point. If you're new with us or if you've been coming for a while and you want to know a little bit more about this place, you got some questions to ask, we have a team out there and they'll be in some orange shirts hanging out in our lobby on the south end of it, and they would love to answer any questions. And maybe you just want a tour of this building, you want to know what goes on around here, please check out Starting Point. The other thing's this. I know our calendar. Show of hands real quick. How many of you guys, your summer calendars are already booked up? Come on. Some of you guys are boring. Terrible. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, in a couple weeks, this is the last call for this. We have something called Rock Your Family. I don't know what to do right now. They just screamed. It scared me a little bit. Security. No, we have something called Rock Your Family. Every time I say it, yeah. This is honestly, it's a great event for your families. I'm bringing my family this year. It's always fun. It's always a great time to get together with your family. But no, they just got rid of it. But the other cool thing about it is that spring things. It's at Spring Hill Camps. My goodness. Everybody cheer now. Let's do it. Man, what's going on right now? Anyways, Rock Your Family, sign up for it. It is going to be epic. Hey, we have been in this bite-sized wisdom series. It's been a fun series for us, and we're going to continue on today. But here's what I need you to do. I need you to stand up and play a quick game of rock, paper, scissors with somebody around you and tell them what you're doing for the fourth.
As far as we know, it's the only home to life in the universe. Why? What is it that makes human beings so special? The answers are hidden deep within humanity. To find them, we must travel to some of the most dangerous places on Earth. Places where only the strong survive and the weak are in danger of becoming extinct. But we dare to travel to these treacherous corners of the earth to gain an understanding of human behavior. Here, nature stages one of her strangest wonders. This time, we're focused on the female humans. It's a convergence around a rather stodgy event. Nonetheless, today we are setting off to observe the pack. It's evening time. The day was full of adventure. Now the humans are enjoying a warm refreshment after a late night meal. One of the female humans takes out her bag full of assorted accoutrements. She suddenly stands and everyone's attention is focused directly on her. But it is not of great importance at all. She simply needs to remove herself from the pack and head to what is known as the powder room. It's a place designed for only the female humans. No male would dare to enter its grotto. Here is one of nature's greatest puzzlements. All at once, the other female humans stand and join their ally. There seems to be no reason whatsoever for this peculiar behavior. Suddenly, the females begin their tireless journey. Some of these herds have been known to travel great distances in search of the powder room. They're constantly on the move, and never will you see a female human make this trek alone. This journey was not too long, just a few feet. This is one of the easier expeditions ever observed in the wild. The male humans have not moved. One of the males seems to become a bit distressed. His body shifts from side to side. He stands and starts his own journey. The other males don't seem to notice. They are unaware of the vacancy their comrade left. The females return from their successful odyssey. They notice that one of the male humans is unaccounted for. They inquire upon his whereabouts, but none of the male humans seem to know. The female partner of the missing male seems overly concerned. The other females surround her to comfort her. The males don't even seem the least bit troubled. Traveling alone in these perilous regions could prove to be costly, and the price is a steep one. One may wonder if this pack will ever be complete again.
I've loved those every week. You guys like them? Yeah. We've had Planet Humans or whatever we're calling that thing every week. And that one is so interesting because we're laughing at all the stuff that's so true, right? It's like, why do women and men do community totally different? I remember a buddy of mine, Bob Horner, and his wife, Jan. They live in Colorado. He told me a story. They were given tickets once to a Colorado Buffaloes college football game. So they sat down in these seats before the game. They didn't know anybody because they were given these seats. He goes, we sat down, and Bob says, I noticed that like in 30 seconds, my wife, Jan, has already met and is in conversation with like 8 women. He goes, I sat down and said, what's up? That was it. That was it. I'm watching pregame. He goes, like a minute later, tell me if this doesn't happen all the time. A minute later, he says, I hear my wife, Jan, go, hey, ladies, I'm going to the bathroom. Anybody want to go? And he's thinking, yeah, like, right. 8 women get up. They take off. And he's like, what is up with that? It's so unique. Now, let me ask you guys something. If I sat down beside you at a game, and you didn't know me, and I didn't know you, right? I sat down and said, what's up, man? And like a minute later said, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. You want to go? You would go home and watch the game on TV. They'd be like, this dude is weird, right? But, I mean, it's so crazy how we do it. I mean, guys, right? Am I right? We have rules in the bathroom. We don't even look at each other in the bathroom. Am I right? Right? You don't even look, and nobody should get the urinal beside you. That is a man code rule. And you won't even say hi to somebody if they don't wash their hands. So, I mean, it's just like, it's so different. But anyway, that was a lot of fun because it's looking at this thing that we're going to look at God's wisdom today on community. Now, here's the amazing thing about community, or what I was told when we titled this was, don't call it community, don't call it small group. The word for community today is squad. I'm like, squad? Am I right? They said hashtag squad goals. I'm like, okay, find your squad. I guess that's what it is. It's like find your small group, find your community. So it's really interesting. If you think about community and our need as human beings, which we sort of looked at, the pack, is we were made by God to need community. Every one of us. It's not a gender thing that women do it better than men. It's a human thing. Every single person in here was designed by God not to do life alone. And that doesn't mean we need to get married. It means, married or not, God designed you to do life with a friend or two. Squad. Every person should have a squad. You may say, well, I'm an introvert. I'm an extrovert. It's not introversion or extroversion. It is the way we are made. And here's the amazing thing. We are living, you know this, in a culture that is more connected than any culture's ever been in the history of the world, and yet we're more disconnected than any culture's ever been in the history of the world. Am I right? I mean, you could just do a quick little perusal of finding out how connected we are digitally. It's crazy. I didn't even know this. Every second in the United States, people send more than 7,500 tweets a second, 1,400 Instagram photographs, 2 million emails a second, and people view over 120,000 YouTube videos every second. I mean, we're connected like never before. Americans sent about 69,000 texts a second, with more than 6 billion sent every day this past year. It's unbelievable, but here's the amazing thing. So we're so connected in Facebook in different ways, and we have all these friends that like us that don't even know us. So we think we're connected, but we're really disconnected. They said face-to-face communication, most people in the workplace say, I would choose to text over a face-to-face conversation. In fact, they interviewed millennials and found out survey said 70% of millennials said, I will send a text to my coworker rather than walk over to their desk and have a conversation. Now, I get it. Some of that's more efficient. I get it. You're working around. But face-to-face is sort of gone. And it's interesting. God designed us to need face-to-face, or at least shoulder-to-shoulder. I mean, we don't have time to get into this, but there is sort of a difference between men and women. Women want face-to-face. They want to talk and have a conversation, right? Guys don't want to talk. They want to be shoulder-to-shoulder. They just want to hang out. I think the greatest thing, and it's one of the reasons I ride motorcycles, is you ride motorcycles in packs, but you don't have to talk. It's awesome. You're shoulder to shoulder. You're riding beside each other. The only time you talk is at a stoplight for like 45 seconds. Hey, man, what's up? How you doing? Okay, see, it's awesome. Put in the, that's the way a guy wants to do it. But we were made to need face-to-face, yet we live in a culture that's now about digital or internet and not face-to-face. It's really, it's pretty interesting. If you look at our culture to now, and this is getting worse and worse every year, we have fewer real relationships than we've ever had in our life. A survey by the General Social Survey said that the number of Americans who say they have no close friends has roughly tripled in recent decades. When they were asked the most common response to how many friends or confidants do you have, you know what the number was? 0. That was the most common response. Now, if you're sitting there going, man, I got friends, good. You have a squad. That's what the wisdom we're going to learn from God today is. But most people actually don't. And they said the people that are the worst at this, gender-wise, is guess who? Men. We put up walls, we put up masks, and we do shoulder to shoulder, and we have no real relationships. The digital world is wonderful and awesome as it is, can make us feel like we're connected when we're really not. I was just talking to a buddy backstage, and he said he just decided last week, he said, I can't believe you're talking about this today. Last week I felt like God led me to take a media fast. So he's checked off of social media. I don't know for how long, but he's not doing it. And he said the phrase I heard from God was to disconnect to reconnect. Disconnect from social media to reconnect with real life relationships. Now here's the amazing thing, and you know this. It's built in us by God, by the DNA. We long for this, even though it's really hard. We long for this because we know this. And science and medical science has proven this. When you and I do relationships well, and that may mean just one friend. You don't need 50, you need one. I don't mean a friend on Facebook, because they're probably not really a friend. I'm talking about a real face-to-face, shoulder-to-shoulder relationship where you have a confidant, you have a soulmate, a friend, or two. And I'm just saying if you have 8 or 9 or 10, it's better. No, you just need a couple. But here's the deal. If you have a true friend in your life, and if you don't have one right now and you build one this next year, your whole life's going to change. Medically, you're going to feel better. Emotionally, you're going to do better. And spiritually, you're going to grow. That's all true, not even proven by the Word of God or Solomon's wisdom we're going to look at today, but just by medical science. In fact, it's really interesting that they have found that the key to a long and happy life is not diet or exercise, but strong social connections. Now, that doesn't say don't exercise and who cares about your food. They're saying it's more important that you do life and relationships than all that. In fact, he said, a single good friend has been shown to make as much as a 10-year difference in overall life expectancy. That's crazy, just to have one good friend. Some of you know there was a classic book written years ago by Robert Putnam, an expert on social community called Bowling Alone. And one of the things he found is, because it's just research on research, he found that if you join a group, I'll read it to you. It says, as a rough rule of thumb, if you belong to no groups, but you decide to join one group, like in the next week or the next 6 months, if you decide to join one group, I don't care what kind of group it is. You could be a motorcycle riding group or a card playing group or a movie going book or a book club or a small group here at Kensington. He says this, if you have no groups and you decide to join one group, listen to this, you cut your risk of dying over the next year in half. That sounds like nonsense. He says you cut your risk just medically in half just to join a group. So some of you know this. At Kensington, one of the ways we try to answer that problem is we have what we call small groups. What is it? It's a smaller group. You're not going to have your life change often in a big group, so we say, well, this place, it can be easy to get lost in. So we have a whole small group strategy, like get in a small group with 5 or 6 or 8 people, and your whole life will change. And I think we need a new motto based on Putnam's research for our motto at Kensington should be, join a small group this year or you'll die. You know what I mean? It's right there. That's what he said, right? But some of it's sort of true. So here's the amazing thing. When you go to the book of Proverbs, which we've been in now, hopefully you're doing a 31-day Proverbs study where you're reading a chapter that corresponds with the day of the week of that. There's 31 Proverbs. So as you go to this book of wisdom, bite-sized wisdom, you find incredible wisdom about friendship. And all I want to do today is give you 5 qualities of great friends, because you need a great friend and I need 1 or 2. And when you get them or you are them to others, it literally changes you physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It really does. It's amazing to think that God alone doesn't just change us. He changes us and he uses people to do it. We sang from glory to glory. In other words, God begins something at the beginning and he's going to finish it at the very end. And how does he do it? He does it through people. It's crazy. He uses people. Now, here's the thing. We know this. We love TV shows and movies that are about community. When you see it, there's something that in your heart, you just long for it. In fact, I always like to bring music into these things. I'm not going to throw this guitar and break it like I did last week. Anybody see that one? This really is my guitar. But, TV shows by songs that are about friendship, right? In fact, you know this one. How many know that song? Yeah. Someone told you life was gonna be this way. There you go! Yes! I did that first service and they just sat there like, we must have had an old crowd because they didn't even know the song. I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. Like I've been. Oh, I'll be there for you. Then there me too. That's just this great, am I right? Right? Chris Zarbaugh and I went to a movie last night, hanging out with a buddy, going to a movie. He's our Clinton Township pastor preaching right now at Clinton Township. And he told me, I was talking about this song. I said, I'm going to play that tomorrow at church. He goes, oh my gosh. He's got daughters now in college. He says, that show, we watch an episode of Friends every single day. That's the kind of church you want to go to. Pastor watches Friends every single day. He goes, and there's a rule in our house. If anybody sings that line, and he says it happens every day, no one told you that, you have to go. You have to do that or you're in trouble with our house. It's just like there's this thing. But some of you are from the boomer generation. And there wasn't a TV show, but there was a song that became sort of like an anthem. Little James Taylor. See if you know it. You just call out my name. Listen to this. Everybody sing it. And know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Here we go. Winter, spring, summer, or fall. All you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I am. Now ain't it good to know? Okay, I won't do it anymore. Anyway, that song, and I've seen JT in concert a couple times. You don't have to clap for that. But why do so many people sing that song? Because that is the longing of our heart. Winter, spring, summer, or fall. Right? That somebody would be that close to us as a friend. Why do people sit there, they light their little, candles or put their phones up, like, winter, spring, summer, I'll be there, yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, we long for that. And here's the amazing thing. God designed you and me for that. He said, yeah, that's from me. I put that in your soul. I put that in your DNA. Life doesn't feel complete without a good friend or two. Now, here's the thing. As we talk about Solomon's wisdom, all I'm going to do is give you 5 qualities of a great friend. Here's what the tendency will be, because we're all selfish. I do the same thing you do. I hear a message like this, and I think, where is that friend? I'm going to sit here and wait for God to bring me that friend. Wrong idea. That's a victim mentality. Here's what God wants you to do. As you hear these 5 qualities, say, am I this to anybody? Am I this kind of friend to anybody? And if you don't have a friend, I would say don't sit here and wait for one. I'd say you go get one. You become this friend to somebody else. And guess what will happen? You'll get it back. And you'll find friendship by pursuing to be that friend for somebody else. So anyway, you go to the book of Proverbs, and let me tell you, you could do this all through. Every single proverb has at least one bite-sized nugget of wisdom about friendship. They're all over the place, and I had to reduce it down to 5, and I'm going to do it really quick because they're simple, but they're true. The first one is this: great friends bring the hard truth. They bring to us the hard truths that we need to hear. Proverbs 27, I think I read this on Tuesday. If you were doing the Proverbs challenge, it was Tuesday, it was the 27th. It says, an open rebuke is better than hidden love. Wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from the enemy. The enemy will kiss you. The enemy will puff you up. The enemy will tell you great things about yourself. A true friend speaks things that are hurtful, that hurt, that wound us at times, and we don't want to hear it, but if it's true, it's one of the best things that can ever happen. In fact, I brought with me a bag of props. I'm going to have a prop for each one of these. I've got the bag of the Super Bowl coming up champion Detroit Lions, all right? And I thought this first one is this. You and I need a 2x4 in our life. Somebody that when they tell you the hard truth is like, whack. It's like, whoa, that didn't feel good, but guess what? It's true. Now, I don't mean this. Don't ever hit anybody with a 2x4. Never do that. It's a visual to say, yeah, when a friend, a true friend speaks truth that doesn't always feel good, it changes the course of our life if we receive it. Am I right? It's like, it sort of feels like that. It's like, what did you just say? Right? And yet, if they're a true friend, they'll see something, and by the way, you will probably need to invite them in to do that. The guys I'm doing life with, I've said to them many times, man, you see something in me, you call me out. It's called a blind spot. I don't see it. Obviously, I'm blind to it, and we all have them. Everybody in this place has a blind spot or 2 or 50. And, and other people see it, and you don't. It's the kind of thing like you're in a group with people, and then like I walk out of the room, and they all like snicker and go, yeah. That's the kind of thing you want to know. Why are they doing that? Because they all see something that I don't even know. I come across this way, or I'm arrogant or whatever. It's like, no, I need a brother in my life to say, dude, you're not going to like this, but I got to tell you, I love you and you need to hear this. Boom. Do you have anybody that does that in your life? I remember I've said here many times, I tried to remember to quote the first service, and now I just remembered it. It must be from God. Here's what it says. If one person tells you you're a donkey, disregard it. If 2 people tell you you're a donkey, consider it. If 3 people tell you you're a donkey, get a saddle. You get it? If you're sitting in a group, maybe 3 or 4 people, and they all love you, I'll tell you, here's what we did in my small group. We meet, it's really interesting. We used to meet weekly, now we meet once a month, and we spend the whole night like in dinner and spend several hours together, and we do stuff all the time during the week, but we have one intentional meeting once a month. And one year we said, this year let's give each other gifts. I've shared this here before. I was like, whoa, what do you mean a gift? A gift is let's speak the truth, good and blind spots about each one of us. So here's how we're going to do it. The guy we're going to talk about that night is going to leave the room and be out of the room until we're ready for him to come back, and we're going to talk together and say, what are 3 great qualities about Dave, and what are 1 or 2 or 18 things he needs to be told? And so the guy would go out of the room, and it'd take about 5 or 10 minutes, and they'd come back in. It was a gift. The good gift was, here's some great things. You're amazing, and here's another good gift. Here's something I think you need to hear. And I remember when I went out of the room, I went into the kitchen. I was at Rob's house. I went into the kitchen. I was out there like an hour and a half. I'm like, what are they talking about? Is it really that bad? Now, it wasn't that long, but it felt like it. So then I walked back in, I sat down, and they go, Dave, you're amazing at this. I'm like, oh, great, whatever. Let's go. And when they told me what I needed to hear, I got defensive. Like, that is not even, and I look and every head's going. I'm like, no way. This is a conspiracy. You guys. Like, dude, just receive it. It's true. And when I did receive it, guess what? I become a better man, a better dad, a better husband, a better leader, a better pastor, a better follower of Christ. Am I right? And we run from this, and God says, no, you need a friend or 2 that can deliver the hard truth in a loving way. Sometimes it's been not so loving, is still true. And if you never have those people in your life, guess what I can tell you? You will never grow. You will never grow. And if you do, and you're not defensive, and you welcome it and say, help me understand how this plays out. You probably even know, help me understand how I can get better at that. They always know. And by the way, some of you are sitting there right now going, I know my gift from God is I'm this person in everybody else's life. I can see everything. I'm the sermonator. I'm going to come in there and tell them, no. That's not what this is about. This is about, do you have somebody in your life that you have given access to your life to say, I want to be a better man. I want to be a better woman. Would you speak truth as a true friend? So that's the first one. Second one is this. A real great friend draws out real truth. Great friends draw out, they pull out real truth. Again, this comes right out of Proverbs 20. It says, the purpose in a man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Now, this one's sort of talking about men here, but it's like the inside of a man's heart is like deep water. And I was thinking, if that's a man's heart, what's a woman's heart? It's like the ocean, it's just like, But anyway, he's like, that's what's inside a guy and inside a woman. And he says, a man of understanding or a person of understanding can draw out what often they don't even know is there. Like behind the words, behind the story. Next week, we're talking about our tongue. Wisdom about our tongue, oh my goodness, don't miss next week. But behind the words is a story. And a man or a person of wisdom they're such a good friend, they're like, dude, I can sense this, and they draw it out. So I was thinking, what's my prop for this? I actually thought, first of all, of a turkey baster. It sort of draws out, or a syringe, draws out. But then last night, God gave me, I know this was from God. God's like, no, this needs to be a prop they won't forget. So this is what he gave me. I mean, it draws out, right? It draws out. And you're only thinking of the toilet, but that's one place. But if your sink gets plugged up, right? Your heart gets plugged up. I mean, it's just like, that was gross. I did wash it this morning, but when you have boys, growing up, I mean, because, you come in there with this, and they're like, no. I'm serious. My kids were in high school. They're like, Dad, look, world record. I'm like, yeah, we gotta get it out of there. But this was a tool designed to unplug things. You get it? Unplug things. And is this grossing you out? Hey, is it memorable? Huh? See? That's what I got from God. Anyway, you get the idea. It's like we get stuck in life. We get clogged up. And you need a friend who could have insight to see that, and they draw it out. I mean, I've told this story, but the year we started Kensington, I'm not kidding. I wasn't on staff at Kensington, even though I was full-time. I was on staff with Athletes in Action, Campus Crusade for Christ, as the Detroit Lions chaplain. And so I served at Kensington for 5 years before they ever paid me. I'm still looking for that paycheck. Anyway, and so I had to raise my own financial support. I remember I was meeting with Mark Nelson and Steve Andrews. We had a weekly meeting. Why? Because they were my squad. Every Wednesday morning, 6 to 8 a.m., we would meet. Those two and a guy named John Waters, and we were doing life together, and we're starting this church. And I remember one time sitting in our rented offices, and I started sharing that our financial support was down, and I may not get a paycheck because your support, if the money's not in your account, you can't get paid as a missionary. And so I was sharing that, and I got a little tender, and I remember Steve looked across, just sitting right there, and he just looked at me and he goes, this isn't about money. This is about fear. You're really afraid, aren't you? And I'm like, yep. You're afraid you won't be able to pay the mortgage. You're afraid I'm like, yep. And what did he do? In a sense, he unclogged and drew out something I hadn't even identified myself. And then he, Mark, and John sort of said this, let's go vertical. Let us remind you who's in control of money and your future and your life. And it was one of those moments we ended up on our knees praying that God would show up in this life. But it probably would have never come out unless there was a brother of understanding who drew it out of me. And guess what? It brought life to me, and we developed a plan, and we moved on. Let me ask you, who in your life draws out what's hidden? Who pulls that out of you? Now, I'm going to do this every point. There's 5 of them. We just did 2. I'm going to ask you every time, who is it? And here's what I'm wondering. Do you have a name? Seriously, That means you have somebody. If a name comes to your head and you're like, yeah, I got Joe, I've got Sally, if you don't, here's what God wants to do. God wants to provide that in the next couple weeks and months. That's what we do at Kensington. This is great. It will not long-term change your life. You need this and a smaller of this. It's called a small group. If you don't have those people, I'm going to say it again. Go find them. Even take this summer to find them and watch what God does. He'll bring somebody that speaks the truth. Sometimes it'll hurt, like a wound from a friend. He'll bring somebody that can draw out something that's clogged up in your life and you're not able to get to the next level because you've never had that drawn out of your life. And then it's really interesting. The third one is you need great friends do this. They get to the hidden truth. Here's what it means by this. I read this on Wednesday. People who conceal their sins will not prosper, but if they confess and turn from them, they will receive mercy. I don't know if you're following. We've been tweeting out a little video about some of these proverbs. I did one Wednesday about this proverb. Because, you read 21 or 31 verses in chapter 28, and this one jumped off the page. And I'm like, I'm going to tweet this out, and then I'm going to talk about it this weekend. It was really interesting. He says, people who conceal their sins will not prosper. I've said here before, we did a series last year about hiding in the darkness. I don't remember it, but I said this. See if anybody remembers it. I said, conceal anything. You hide stuff in your life. Conceal equals, anybody remember? Death. Reveal equals life. It's simple, but I've never forgotten that, and it's right there. If you conceal your sins, they will not prosper, but if they confess or reveal their sins and turn from them, they'll receive grace, mercy, life. And so most of us hide, and I'll tell you, one of the greatest places people hide is church. We hide at church, right? So we cover it all up. You're struggling with something. Maybe you're really, really struggling with something. Even this week, it's just getting you. As long as you keep that temptation, that sin in the dark, you will lose. That sin will win the day. But the second and it's scary and it's hard and it's embarrassing, but the second you say that out loud to somebody. And by the way, you don't walk up to anybody and say it. Hey man, I'm struggling with porn. Oh, good, dude, see ya. No, you say that to somebody that's a friend, somebody that's a great friend. And if you don't have one, that's why God wants you to develop that, pursue something so you have a friendship so that when you are struggling, you can confess that, agree with God and agree with others. Because what will happen is they probably, if they're a great friend, won't shame you and judge you. They will love you and give grace and say, let's go find victory together in Jesus. That's what happens in the community of Christ. You don't shame and condemn, you find victory together. You know what's the most beautiful thing about small groups here? Is that's what happens with one or two people in a small group. Now here's what happens. Most of us are afraid to go to a small group. You know why? Honestly, we think the people there are better than us. They don't struggle with the things we struggle with. I remember the first time I ever went to a small group, I was scared to death. I didn't know the Bible. I know they're going to know it better. They don't struggle with the sins I struggle with, and I'm not going to measure up. And I went to that first group, and and it happens all the time here. You go to that group, and you're going to hide, because everybody hides in small groups, right? And then somebody there will say, man, I struggled with this week, and you're sitting there going, did you say you struggled? Yeah. Like, you just saying that, or you really, yeah. So do I. The next thing you know, it's like, oh, you mean it's safe here? Yeah. We can find Jesus here together? Yeah. We can win together, but you'll never win together if you conceal. You'll die together. But if you reveal, you find life together. And again, you don't have to do that with 8 people. You do it with one person. You go to the book of James, go into the New Testament. We just studied this in our midweek series. Confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. Now, is he talking about physical healing here? Not specifically. I think sometimes when we do release things that we're carrying around, there's a physical part of healing as well. But he's really talking about you break the chain of addiction to that sin or temptation. If you stay in the dark, it gets you, it grabs you, you're in bondage. The second you reveal it, it's like it loosens its grip. It isn't all over, but it starts to loosen its grip the second it's spoken into the light. So I thought, what's the best visual for that? Is you need somebody in your life that is this. I got so many props in here. A chain breaker, a bolt cutter. I got this Home Depot years ago. I was like, I got to put this closet together. I couldn't break these wire things. Like, poop. And I thought, so many of us, if we could see with spiritual eyes what's going on all around the people right now, we would see people walking around burdened and weighed down with chains. Every one of us in this room is struggling with something that is weighing us down spiritually, weighing us down emotionally, maybe even physically. We can't see it. Why? Because we come to church, we put on a mask, and everything's great. And yet every one of us, and we need a brother. Jesus does this, but he also uses a brother or sister to, when you confess it, they go, let's go. Let's get that off of you. What are you doing living that? Why are you struggling with this in the dark? Let me walk beside you. God forgives you. I forgive you. Let's find victory together. I remember when I first moved to Detroit, I wasn't, we didn't even know we were going to start Kensington, didn't have any idea, had never met Steve Andrews. I was here to be the Detroit Lions chaplain 32 years ago. So we come here, and I'm looking for a church, and people are telling me where to go, and I end up in this church, and I knew I needed men, I needed community. I know that that's how he's wired all of us, so I'm looking for that. I get in this small group with these guys, and after a couple of weeks, I'm like, this could be the guys. These could be the guys I do life with, right? And so I remember it was February, and I've shared this years ago, but it hit me this week. It was February, and I came into this group, and I go, hey, I got to be honest. I struggled this week with something, and I just feel like I need to confess it to you guys. And they're like, what's that? I go, well, it's February, and the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue just came out, and my wife usually gets it at the mailbox before I see it and rips out all the swimsuits, and I get one page. So that's how it usually worked, and somehow I got it before she did, and I went through it. And I struggled, and I told these guys this because I knew you don't keep something like that in the dark or it's going to win the day. And here's what happened. This one guy, they sort of look at each other, and they look at me, and they go, that is despicable. Can't believe you call yourself a Christian man of God. I never struggle with that. None of us do. I was like, okay, I need another group. I knew right then and there, this group's never going there. And I don't know, because we never met again. I never met with them again. I don't know, but I'd say they're pretty much liars. I'm not saying every guy struggles with that, but it was like, put on the mask and pretend they're at it. And I'm like, I can't do this. I need real guys in my life who I can confess and they can confess. And I found them. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 or 4 different groups to try it. People at Kensington try a group and they're like, that didn't work, I'm done. No, keep trying. I bet I tried 9 groups. That I'm now with the guys, we've been doing life together for 20 years. We've raised our families together. We've raised our kids together. I get to do a wedding Friday. She's sitting right over there for one of his daughters. It's going to be a glorious moment. I'm in their life and they're in my life. We've done this for 20 years. And now I'm marrying their daughter off to a guy I coached in high school. It's unbelievable that God has brought that kind of community. That didn't just happen. I had to go find it, and then God made it something so rich that it's now going down legacy, generation after generation. Why? God made us to do life in community. It doesn't just happen. And if you want to be the victim and say, nobody's reaching out to me, you can do that, or you can say, I'm going to be that friend to somebody, and watch this. God will turn it back, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm finding real friendship, real community, and real life. So it's like, man, you want a 2x4 in your life, you want to be a 2x4 in somebody's life, you want, what was the second one? You want a plunger in your life, you want a bolt cutter, and then look at this one. The fourth one is this: a great friend reminds us of God's truth. Where'd I get that? Proverbs 17. It says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. What's he saying? Friends are there always. They don't bail when it gets tough. He said, in fact, adversity is made for someone that's as close as a brother. The brothers in my life are not my biological brothers. We've never been that close. God gave me another family through the ones right here. And I pursued it, and they pursued it, and there's this loyalty that's hard to explain, but it's beautiful. And when you find that, and when you are that, God says, that's what I made you for. And here's what happens. So often you think, okay, a brother or sister is going to tell you the hard stuff, but often the flip side of that is they speak life into you. They build you up. They encourage. It's like when they remind you of what's true about who you are as a son of God or daughter of the King, it's like they breathe life into you because they know you so well and they love you. And even though they've told you the hard stuff, at the same time, they're also saying, dude, you don't understand who you are. This is who you are. And they breathe life. I borrowed this from the guy who I'm marrying his daughter this Friday. Last night I said, dude, you got an air pump? Yep. That's what it does. They pump air into you. It's like you can feel your chest going when they... Sort of, right? It's like they speak life into you, and you just start feeling better. It's like you need an air pump in your life, and you need to be that person in somebody else's life where you're pumping into them. I was thinking, this past October, November, I got booked to speak in Oklahoma at some Indian reservation men's retreat. It was like one of the wildest things I've ever done. And so I was supposed to fly into Dallas, and it was just an hour drive north of Dallas. And so I text my buddy John Kittner, who used to play for the Lions, one of my best friends. He lives in Dallas now. He coaches high school football. And I said, hey, dude, I'm going to be in Dallas on my way to Oklahoma this date. Are you around? I'd love to have lunch with you. He goes, how long before you got to be at that thing? I'm like, that's like 3 hours. He goes, gotcha, 3 hours. I'll pick you up. Tell your buddies, the people meet you at this mall. We're spending 3 hours together. Because we hadn't talked to each other, face to face in quite a while. So I get there, picks me up. We go to lunch. And we're talking. He's like, so what's going on? What's going on in your life? What's going on in your kids? What's going on? I have the same thing. And somehow I shared something that I was, a decision I was making and something in the future that I was unsure about. And I'll never forget this. John goes, dude, you don't think you're good enough to do this, do you? And I did the typical guy thing. What are you talking about, man? I'm great. I'm good. He goes, no. That is not what I'm picking up. So what's he doing? He's drawn out with understanding, deep waters of my heart. And he knows me well enough to know I'm sensing you don't think you've got what it takes to do the thing you're considering. And I remember I go, well, yeah, maybe. I'll never forget this. John Kittner, he's a bold dude. He goes, look at me, man. So I look at him. He's a lot bigger than me. And I'll never forget. He just says, let me tell you something, Dave Wilson. You got it. God has gifted you, and he went through every gift that he's seen in my life and how I've impacted him. And he just reminded me, he says, you are a soldier of the King of Kings. You are a son of the God of all creation. What was he doing? Speaking identity. What was he doing? He breathed life. He reminded me of who he is and who I am. Theology, identity. We've said that so many times here. It's like, don't you forget who he is. He's the God of all creation. He's the God of the universe. And you're his son, and he's calling you to do something, and you got it. I remember when I got up and walked and got in this car with this guy who was going to drive me to the speaking event, I was like this. So, hey, man, what's up? Where are we going? What are we doing? He's looking at me like, dude, I was full of confidence. Why? Because a brother that's closer than a real brother breathed God's truth into me and encouraged me to be all that God had called me to be. Again, you got one of those in your life? Do you have a name? Do you have a guy? Do you have a gal that comes to your mind? He's like, yeah, this woman, this guy speaks that into my life. And by the way, I don't think I need to say this, but I always got to make sure I footnote this. If you're a guy, you need a guy besides your spouse. And if you're a woman, you need a woman besides your spouse. You got that, right? It's not another woman, oh, she speaks life into me like my wife doesn't. No, run from that. That was last week's sermon, okay? Run. Dudes need dudes, women need women, as well as your spouse. But man, oh man, find that great friend. Then one more. Last one is this. Great friends guide us to the truth. Wisdom. Here it is. The heartfelt counsel of a friend is as sweet as perfume and incense. You need a friend who's wise counsel to you. Heartfelt, wise counsel. It's like you're here and you want to get there. You know, I want to get to that destination in my life. What do you need? You need this. Here's your prop. You need GPS. And God's GPS and his Holy Spirit will lead you, but God also will bring you a friend who gives you wisdom to say, oh, you want to get there? You're never going to get there that way, dude. You're going to have to follow this trajectory to get there. I didn't even know this, but in college, I had 3 buddies that were just my best friends. One was a roommate that I led to Christ my sophomore year, and then we roomed together for the next 2 years. And then 2 were guys on the football team with me, one a quarterback and one a receiver. And they were good friends, and we were in Christian brotherhood together and just became a Christian, so I'm learning what this community thing's all about. I'll never forget this. I was dating, you know this, for 4 years, a girl that I was going to marry. Not the woman I married, another woman. And I would bring her to Ball State, and every time that she would leave, they'd go, dude, I don't know what's wrong with you. She is not the woman for you. Like, you guys don't know anything. You don't know anything about her. You don't know her past. I'm in love with her. We're getting married. All 3 of them together and separately say, dude, I'm just giving you wise counsel. That would be a really bad decision. And you know the rest of the story. I caught her cheating on me broke up, got on my knees and surrendered everything to Jesus. I met Ann, you know the story. Recently after that, we started dating. I brought her to Ball State. She met those guys. She drives away, and all three of them go, dude, if you have any brains at all, you will marry that woman. That woman's on fire. You're on fire. I can see what God's doing in your life, and I can see where he's taking you, and she's your partner. And I'm like, really? And they're like, oh, my gosh, if you can't see that, you need a 2x4 to your head. And that's what they were doing. And think about that wisdom they gave me. Think about it right now. I'm on this stage with you, with a legacy that's totally different, doing what I'm doing because of wise counsel to marry the woman God had brought for us to be in partnership together. I was sound asleep at 2 a.m. when she walked in the bedroom last night, flying home from Denver. She was just there for 3 days to see our grandchildren who would not exist if I didn't marry her. That's wise counsel. Let me ask you, you got a name? You got a name? Somebody that gives you wise counsel? It will literally change the destination of your life if you have someone that gives it and you are willing and humble enough to listen to it and follow it. God has designed you and me to do life in community. But again, I'll close with this. Don't sit and wait for it. Go get it. Go get it. It will be one of the most life-changing things you ever do. So here's how we're going to end today. We're going to show you a video of a couple from our Clarkston campus that went after it. And they resisted it for a long time, but watch what happens when the McCulloughs find community. Just watch the beauty of how it changes their life. And we're going to take our offering during this. Think about this. The story you're going to watch happens at a church like this because you give. Your money goes to life-changing stories and life-changing legacies like this. So thank you for giving. If you're a guest, you can let that pass. Your action step is go to Starting Point today and find out, where do I start here? But give to God and let God speak to you about community by watching this.
So we met in college. I grew up in Canada. He grew up in Midland, Michigan. And we dated for a really short period of time, 6 months, and then got engaged.
Not recommended.
It was great. Good experience. 6 months we dated, got engaged, got married 3 months later. So we did it fast. 6 months later, we found out we were having a baby. Super excited. And then about 20 weeks, when you get the regular ultrasound, we found out that she was going to be born with spina bifida. The doctors painted pictures for us that were just like, you know, the very worst case scenario. She's not going to walk. She might be able to talk, wheelchair bound her whole life, ill all the time, lots of brain surgeries. So they painted a really bad picture for us.
For me, I was having a really hard time making sense of it. I didn't really know what to do or where to go or who to talk to. I had really no context for any of it. It was like survival. It was just figuring out, how do I get through exams? And then how do I step into something bigger than that? That period of time from when she was born, or maybe even a little bit before that, to maybe 3 or 4 years later was far and away the most isolated I've ever felt.
My family is all in Canada. I'm the only one here, and they're 6 hours into Ontario. So they physically couldn't be here. I moved to a different country, so that part was really hard for me, to even just be newlyweds and have your family not be around. But then to have a child, and then have a child with special needs and not have my mom, who is a special needs teacher, so far away and, can't physically be there. It was lonely.
We had a couple of friends who were going to Kensington at the time, and they were rolling out a small group study. 2 friends in particular who were newly married kept asking us to join this group, and we had not been going to church. We did not have a community. We were not really interested in driving from Plymouth to Rochester Hills once a week. My buddy kept begging us, just join, just check it out. And so finally we did. And when we got there, it was a house full of people our age, and some
Nobody
we knew,
had kids.
some we knew, some we didn't know. And I can remember in the first couple of sessions being there for 2 hours and then driving an hour home and just being in the car and sort of looking over and being like, that was good.
Mm-hmm. We were like, that was super worth an hour drive. People are listening to us, and we get to listen to other people. And we're not just focused on raising our family. It was I don't know, I felt like we felt the Lord super close, even though we were clinging to him in the situation with Claire, but it was a different aspect and a different characteristic of the Lord that was brought in with the community.
There's a certain level of freshness when you're in a desert sort of scenario, so to speak, and then you step into something where it's a giant glass of water, and it's like, wow, that tastes really good, and I haven't had that drink in a long time, and you start realizing how necessary it is.
We just kept coming, and we met another couple in that group that they invited us to come and live with them because we were throwing around the idea of moving up this direction, him quitting his job and moving up this direction to be with this community. And they said, hey, we're newlyweds. We just bought this house and we have a full basement. You guys come live with us. And we'd known this couple 6 months, and we were like, okay, let's do it. We have a kid, you mind? And they were like, no, come. We went from no community to living with community, and it was awesome. And they just swooped Claire up like she was their own and helped us in those early years.
Come on.
They got to see her take her first steps, and she walked from me to Natalie across a rug. Sorry.
It changed everything. I mean, it changed not just for us, but it changed our whole community outlook. It changed the way that we raise our kids.
I'm like who? Your wife? I don't know.
Claire is almost 16. She'll be 16 this summer. And she is friends with everyone. Being a part of a community and with her now, it's so amazing to see other people pour into your children and encourage their gifts and encourage their just their positive attributes that they've been given from the Lord. To have a community come around you and encourage your kids without you doing anything, it's really amazing. Just the quantity of time that we had together and the quality of time, it's something that I never knew I was missing. And then when I had it really, I would never turn away from a community again. It just is so, it's the way we were made to live.
When you step into a relationship that very much is like a covenant outside of your marriage and with other people, I cannot express how important it is. I can't even articulate all the benefits that you would get from that. But for me and for us as a family, I mean, it quite literally changed the history of our family. It changed the legacy that we're laying for our kids. It totally changed everything. It's that important. People think I'm exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. It changed the legacy of our family.
It just hit me how radical what they did is. Did you catch that? It's like most people move for a job, and if I get community in that area, then that's good. And they realized, oh my gosh, community is more important than even our livelihood. They said, we're going to move for community, and God will provide the job. That's radical thinking. And it's literally, as they said, changed their entire legacy. Like a glass of water. Do you need a glass of water? It's called community. It's called Find Your Squad. And here's the amazing thing. Jesus modeled it. In fact, in John 15, Jesus said, greater love has no man than this, than he lay down his life for his friends. It says real friendship's sacrificial love. You lay down your life. It's not about me, it's about them. And they're saying the same thing. It's not about me, it's about them. And that's the beauty of community. And then Jesus didn't just say it, he did it. The best friend you have is Jesus. He gave his life sacrificially to love you, to say, you are now my friend. And then through that power of God in our life, he gives us the power to be a friend and enter into community that will change us and change the world. So we're going to sing a song to end the day, and it's called Cornerstone. It's a song, it's been around here for a decade, I bet, and it's basically saying Jesus is the cornerstone, the rock, the solid foundation of our faith, the one who gave his life as our friend and enables us to be friends. Now here's why we sing. I've sung this song maybe 100 times or so alone, in my weight room, in the car, in the shower, alone. It's great to sing alone. You know what's different when you sing it in community? Totally different experience. It's just different. So we're going to invite you to sing it together with others. And you may not even sing it. You may just stand and listen. You may sit and listen. But you're in community the way God designed it to be. It's just richer when we do something together. So let's sing about the foundation of our faith, the one who's with us in the storms. And how's he with us? Through others in community. Let's sing together.
faultless stand before the throne.
You know, those last words we just sang are about when we meet him in glory. God begins something at birth, and he's never going to stop until the day we see him face to face. That's about the end. And some of you know, but Becky Lee, our campus director, her father died 2 days ago on Friday. He's 96 years old. He's in glory right now. Man of God, amazing rock of the family. I mean, he did it right. Becky's here today because they're going to do the funeral on a beach in like 10 days, and he wanted a luau. So they're doing a luau. Why? Because this man knew Jesus, and he lived a long, beautiful life, and now he's literally in the presence of Jesus right now. And I thought, man, what Becky has in her life right now is the community we talked about. The Lord is the Lord through the storm, and he reveals himself in the storm, usually through people. So again, do you have that? Go get it. How? Information table today. Go right there right now. Shar Kelly will be there. She leads that area of our campus. She'll help connect you to community. Whether you start next week or start in the fall, that's your next step. Guys, sign up for Man Up when it comes this fall. You'll find other guys there at Man Up, Women's Smash, you name it. Come to Celebrate Recovery Tuesday night. You name it, there's a way. And here's the last thing. Some of you need to pray with somebody rather than praying alone. And that's why we have a prayer team at the front of the stage at the end of the service saying, man, you need somebody to take your things, your concerns to the Lord. Do that in community, not just yourself. Then next week, bite-sized wisdom on the tongue. You don't want to miss it, all right? God bless you. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.